Okay, it's time again. It's time to say some stuff to myself. I just got off the phone with my brother. Because today is September 25th, 2024. Almost 4 years since my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And yesterday, I found out that my dad has prostate cancer. It's not in its early stages. Some of it is aggressive. I can't believe I'm here again. I can't believe this is my life. We were just talking about when my mom first got diagnosed. It was such a shock. It was like a blindsided punch. It was like a sucker punch from life. It took me down so hard in those early days. I cried constantly for a week straight. I was physically ill. With this, I feel very numb. It's a whole different set of complicated feelings. So much has happened through my mom's cancer journey. And I'm trying to be like, right now, she is beyond. She's been 4 years. And not only is she alive, but she has a clean bill of health. There's been some concerning blood work, but her scans haven't shown any tumors. And I just gotta breathe when I think about that. I just have to breathe. But there's a totally different dynamic with my dad. I mean, as there is with like a mom and a dad. But I don't know how to feel right now. I feel numb. I feel shut down. Yesterday I couldn't even, my husband said, how are you feeling about cancer? I just was like, I can't even cry. Yesterday I was like, I feel dead inside. I feel like I'm disassociating from the reality of it. With my mom, it was so shocking when she got pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer. It's like one of the worst ones. It's not like she's the bastion of health, but I don't think it ever occurred to me that she would die. And she's been through a lot of bad stuff. When she was 50 at her 50th birthday party, she slipped and fell at the party. Right when it started, she slipped and fell, broke her arm, didn't tell anybody, went through the whole party holding her arm up like this, like, oh, hello, praise the Lord. And I was like, what's wrong with your arm? Like, she has like a weird chicken wing arm. She's like, it's broken. Shh. I was like, it's broken. Um, in the last couple months, she slipped and fell. She was getting up to do something, just like an everyday freak accident. Her foot caught on something. She fell down and like catastrophically broke her leg. She's not with her cane anymore, but she's shuffling. But anyway, she had to have surgery and pins and rods. Um, she's been having weird symptoms that seem pancreatic cancer-ish. I'm just gonna compartmentalize that for now. The report came back clear. Gonna stay in prayer. Um, so even though she's been through a lot, I guess she just hasn't really been sick. It's not like her thing. It has been as she got older, but generally speaking, she's been okay. My dad, on the other hand, as much as my mother has shaped me in a completely different, but no less profound way, as my dad shaped me, uh, I wouldn't even know where to begin. It's because of my dad that I even have a glimmer of the love of the Lord for me as a father, a good father. I have a good father who, in his imperfect humanity, has always, my whole life, provided for me, protected me, guided me, raised me up in the things of God. It's because of my dad that I'm a worshiper, because I saw his example. My mom too. It's because of my dad that I study the Bible like I do, that I have a love of God's word. My dad started a Christian school to raise me and my brother up in the things of God, to shelter us and protect us until we were ready. So many flaws. I get it. I'm a parent myself. I get the flawedness of the way we try to help our kids and we fumble. But I just can't believe that I'm only 47 and my parents are only 70. And I'm freaking here. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I think I'm in shock. I think that's why I'm crying and I'm feeling it. But this is just like an initial reaction. It feels very different than when my mom went through it. But no less painful, no less scary. Uh, I know what to do. I know what to do. I actually know to praise the Lord because he's no less worthy. He's not. Bad things happen to good people because of sin and the fallenness of this world and all that it has destroyed, our genetics, our environment, our own sinful choices to go somewhere and to try something, and the air we breathe, the water we drink. It's not God's fault. He's no less worthy, and that's why I worship him. No one's more proud of me than my dad, and I know that. And we've had a lot of brokenness in our relationship. Um, because of ministry things mostly. Well, that's probably the only thing. I'm not even walking in ministry at my church because of some of that brokenness and the way that we've disagreed on things. Not everything, but a couple things. And they were big enough that I decided to walk away to to um to save my family dynamic. I would not choose the ministry over my family, but I do feel that that's a decision my parents have made in the past, was to choose the ministry over family. And I determined that I would not live my life that way. And so when it came to a divisive thing where I was like, you are wrong, this is not scriptural, and he was like, you're wrong, back and forth, it happened enough times. It happened enough times that I decided to walk away. Not in anger, even though that's what I was accused of. Not in anger. To save the relationship as family. I would rather have my family intact, peace in my family, than have some ministry where there's always fighting. At the church, specifically. Peace on other fronts, but I think it's just a lot of egos in the room. Not even egos, it's just we're just very strong people. My dad is intelligent, godly. He studies the word, and he's strong-willed. Me too. Me too. He raised himself in the daughter. Anyway. I can't believe I'm here again. I'm just gonna have to lean back onto what God did when my mom had cancer, because I'm here again. To remind myself that what God has done, He can do again. Okay, here we go. My dad has cancer. It has been a really hard, 10 days. I've not made a lot of time for myself. And I can feel that my percentage is lowering of what I can give to people in my life. And I'm still running this campaign. I can't just crap out now. I still homeschool my children. I can't just crap out on them. They still want to go to the park and they still want to play. They're just kids, and I don't want to weigh them down. My cares. Had a great weekend last weekend, and yesterday was my wedding anniversary. 16 years of marriage. We had this fabulous weekend away, my husband and I did last weekend, and we had really long talks. We took a super long drive to my 25th anniversary homecoming from my college graduation. I graduated from Geneva College in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. Class of 99. Degree, Bachelor's of Arts in Broadcasting and Communications. And I haven't been back in 25 years. And some parts were beautifully painful because I graduated in 99. Heading to grad school for my degree in journalism, my master's degree. And I came back the following year in 2000 for my friend's graduation. She begged me to come back and watch her graduate, but I didn't want to, because by then I was 8 months pregnant and I was single. And I it was just a humiliation because I was popular and well regarded in college, only to come back the following year fallen and ashamed. And I haven't been back since, so it's been about 25 years since I was there. And as we were driving through the town of Beaver Falls, I was just hit. I mean, I was hit like I was broadsided with a lot of complicated feelings and memories that I haven't thought about in 25 years. And I like had this like a renaissance at Geneva where I was like, I love it here. I forgot how much I loved it here. I've really buried some things that happened while I was here, but I really love it here. It's a great college. You should go. You should send your kids. And throughout that weekend, it was like a mountaintop weekend for us both. We just so many things, but we were driving and I was remembering this and that. And my husband was like, Alicia, he said, you thought the way that things ended here, you thought that was the end of the story. He said, but it turns out it was just the end of the chapter. And a couple days later, after that, we learned that my dad's prostate cancer is a lot worse than we thought, than we knew. It's the most aggressive kind. As of right now, today, we don't know if it has metastasized or if it's exclusively contained in the prostate. Very different paths, very different approaches. And this is the race that's set before me. He's got his own race. My dad, he's running his race. For me, I'm struggling because um, I'm just struggling with, I think, depression, similar to when my mom went through this. And I've just noticed my behavior. I've noticed, like, I've paid attention to, like, my thought life. I can see that I have no energy to, like, get off the couch. So when we got back from Geneva, we found out my dad had an appointment. We found out that he had a second opinion. We really pushed. We're like, Dad, you have to get a second opinion. He's struggling with what he's gonna do. It's not my decision, but I don't agree at all with his thoughts and approaches to this at all. I do not. But we're in those early days, and your approach to cancer, now that I've been down this road with my mom, approaches change the more you try something, but I just, oh, why? Like, why? There is no answer to this question, but like, my mom gets cancer. It's the deadliest kind. God healed her. I have no complaints. I'm just like, I have like PTSD from that journey. My dad gets cancer. He's the most aggressive kind. Of That's actually right in line with the way my family does stuff. We're all in or all out. We're either super healthy or dying. Anyone that knows my family would be like, oh, of course you would get the most aggressive kind. That's the kind of people that you are. You're all in. If it's cancer, we're gonna get the worst one you can get. Just like we all tend to live like lives of fire. I don't know. It's like genetic, spiritually genetic, physically genetic. So we got back from Geneva, found out about my dad's cancer. in the middle of that week of last week. And on Thursday, I called to check in on my mom. And she's like, guess who's here? And it's like, I don't know. She was like, Micah. And I was like, my brother, Micah? She's like, yeah, he flew in last night to surprise us. She's like, he got home, he got to the house at 11 o'clock at night. And she's like, we were in bed and there's a man outside and, we were super startled and it was Micah. It was Micah. And they were so happy. And in my heart, I was like, oh my God, it must be bad. It must be really bad for my brother to come. Because he does not love the state of New York. He left here a long time ago, moved out west, has an amazing life in a beautiful ranch, and he takes care of horses, and he's left New York behind. He does not like to return here. Which is why I sent red flags up immediately. I was like, my brother must think this is serious. Otherwise, he would not be here. And that made me, it was bittersweet. It made me ache with pain and fear. It was like a piranha of fear. Like it just started to nibble at my flesh, like a piece at a time. I just felt myself like eroding as much as I was happy that he was here. So Micah spent the whole day with my dad. Then that next day, spent all of that day with my dad, all Thursday. And my mom was like, I just want them to have their space. They have a complicated relationship. Our family just lives life in the extremes. I don't know why, and it doesn't often feel like the extremes to me, but it is definitely something people who don't know us and have observed our lives have mentioned, like, this doesn't happen normally in the everyday. Like these things these things don't happen to most people. And so I've come to realize over time, I think we're not normal. I think we think we're normal. But anyway, so I drove down that night for dinner and Micah and I sat up. We haven't seen each other in a long time. And there's been a lot of brokenness in our relationship because we live life in the extremes. We've done extreme things to each other and it has caused brokenness. Through my mom's cancer, I think I've told some of these stories before. Through my mom's cancer, that relationship was repaired. And so it was so sweet and such a gift to me to be able to sit up and talk to my brother. We stayed up till like 2 a.m. just talking about everything and nothing. And we needed that time. And then the next day, he was like, we need to get to work and figure this out for mom and dad. We gotta put our heads together and create a plan for them because it's obvious. It's obvious. They're struggling. They're at a loss. You just don't know what to do. All of a sudden, it's like you're running the race that's set before you. And the bottom drops out. It's like you like made a wrong step and you're in a free fall down a canyon, just flying through the air and you're trying to grasp onto a tree, a rock. Everything's loose. It's all loose gravel and you're just going down. We're there again. So we had my parents over that night and we presented them with the plan, getting rid of the sugar, going organic, and juicing. We did this whole thing. And so we talked to them about it and was like, look, people love you. I told my 9-year-old daughter, Poppy has cancer. She just cried. They had just spent the whole day together that day. And I had to tell her, though, because people are finding out. They had just spent that whole day together. So I was like, hey, I just got to share something with you. I said, Poppy's got cancer and it's pretty serious. We're just going to we're gonna trust the Lord and we're gonna do what we gotta do. She just looked at me like this. Her eyes just got so big. She was like that. And I was like, oh, I couldn't even look at her. I had to turn away. So I said to my dad, Dad, people love you. You have to survive. And one of the things my brother and I were talking about is like, does he have the tools to survive this? I mean, who does? It's freaking cancer. Like, nobody has the tools. We did, we would prevent it. But even then, the fallenness of the world, the exposure to chemicals, freaking fluoride in the water, like whatever. But we didn't mean those kind of tools. Anyway, we sat around the table, my mom, my dad, and me, and Micah, and my husband. We told stories and laughed. And we wept. And we wept. We had gone out for dinner a little earlier. We went for Thai food. My dad was just sitting at the table, and I could just see him. He just was sitting there with tears in his eyes. And I just kind of reached over and squeezed his hand, and he was just like, I'm so happy. My family's here together. So when we were talking later, my dad was like, my soul is prepared to meet the Lord. He said, I'm ready if the Lord calls me home, if this is the way that I go, if this is the end of the story. He said, I'm ready. He said, but it's you, the loved ones I leave behind. He said, I don't want you to live in grief without me. He said, I don't want to leave you behind in suffering. And you know, we tried to encourage ourselves in the Lord. And I am trying it today at church. My dad, during the worship, he came in and stood next to me, and I gave him a big hug. And we stand in the front. And he just buried his face in his hands and he wept. And just like I did on that Sunday, after finding out about my mom's, how serious it was, that was pancreatic cancer and ovarian. I remember she sang Graves into Gardens. And I remember thinking, if she can worship the Lord, so can I. And today, I'm definitely a more seasoned warrior than I was going into the previous battle. It's like you're in war, but I forgot for a minute because the Lord healed my mom, and it's been 4 years. But this time, I went in with no weapons, no tools. All I had was faith in the Lord, which I really had to wrestle with during that season. With cancer, there's just no assurance that it's going to be okay. There's never an assurance. There just never is. But this time, I saw my mom's life. I saw her walk through that, and I watched her. She really has an unsinkable spirit. She really does. She came to me crying this morning at church. And it's just so hard to see them battling fear. It's so hard to see them facing their mortality, the sick irony that they both got cancer within a few years of each other. She just rubbed my back. She wanted to talk to me about just things in her own heart. And she was crying. She was talking to me about the race for assembly. She was like, "You're a firebrand, Alicia." She's like, "You have fire in you." She's like, "I don't know what's going to happen in this assembly race." She said, "And the battle belongs to the Lord. But for whatever reason, you're here now, but with cancer. The tools that I have this time, that fire." I agree. I definitely am a person of passion and fire. It's a good way to good way to explain myself. And I have seen in the world that I have a gift to inspire people and to set them on fire and point them to Christ. I've seen that. I can say that without pride. I see it. I see that God has gifted me. But that's not out of nowhere. I was given that as a gift from God. And by watching the lives of my mom and dad, they are people of fire. Anyway, all that to say, I have tools this time. It was still a long journey, but praising the Lord, the Word of God, that quick, active, powerful, living Word of God, through the power of the Holy Spirit, the communion with God in prayer. It sounds so trite to say it in like words like this because you have to feel it, but to sense it, discern it. But I not only sharpened those tools during my mom's cancer, they became very sharp for me. I learned to use them better. I became more adept. They became more instinctive in me. And I have carried that with me from that day. And I don't know how it's going to look, and I don't know how it's going to end up. But watching your parents navigate this and disagreeing with their choices is definitely hard. Fighting my own fear. It's a constant battle. Controlling my mouth. The look on my face. My parents have been talking to me about that my entire life. They're like, "What's with the look on your face?" I'm like, "I don't know. I was just thinking about ice cream cones." Anyway, I haven't checked in with myself in a while because I thought I was okay. Turns out I'm at a loss too. And I too am at a free fall down a canyon. And I too am grasping onto anything, any kind of hope, any kind of light, any kind of answer. As I'm running the race that is set before me, however it got there. However I got myself on this road, I'm running the race that is set before me with endurance and patience, or I'm going to try to. In some ways, this battle will look the same, but in some ways, it'll look very, very different. And in some ways, I take courage from that. And in some ways, I feel terrified. Guess that's all for now. I want to put this down for the record. I have tried to write this down, but it's too much, and my mind is just my hands can't keep up. So I'm digitizing this record where I can just speak my heart. I don't know how else to process this journey. I just don't have the time in my life to like sit anymore and just write things out and process that way. My birthday was 2 days ago, October 27th. I was born in 1977. Well, I'm 47 years old today. I'm 47 years old 2 days ago. And my mom and dad were out of town for my birthday. So they stopped by today. And this morning, they went for some results from my dad's tests, like scans and blood work, just to figure out where we are. And I just called my mom. They didn't call me. That was a sign right there. I should have prepared myself. But I finally got a hold of my mom. I was like, what are the results? So here's where things stand. My dad's aggressive prostate cancer, which has a Gleason score of 8 and 10. It's got some a range, but it's the high range. It's the aggressive range, 8 through 10 on the Gleason scale. It's like the worst kind you can get. His prostate is filled with cancer, and it has metastasized. Metastasized to his lymph nodes, his C5 in his spine, somewhere near his rib cage, the bones in his rib cage, and his lymph nodes, the ones that are near the prostate. And I'm new to this world, even though we've navigated pancreatic cancer. Prostate cancer is just a different animal. So I Googled around. Just curious. Turns out those are pretty common places, actually, for prostate cancer to metastasize to. The bones, the liver. Well, it turns out my dad does have a spot on his liver, but they're unclear if it is cancer. But it wouldn't be surprising that's a common place for it to go. And then they're not going to bother to test it. It's like, what's the point? It's got so much cancer that it's like, in lymph nodes, pretty common. And then like every time I was reading this thing that said every time, like the more places it has metastasized to, the lower the life expectancy is. And I was just reading some studies and reports and trying to kind of like get some bearings of like, what is the life expectancy? When Michael Landon got pancreatic cancer, he was dead in 2 months. I have a friend whose father got pancreatic cancer and he was dead in 3 months. I don't know, how that works with prostate cancer. So I was trying to like do some research and I was reading these different reports and piece things together. The doctor wouldn't give them a timeline. He just was like, there's too many unknowns. I can't give you a timeline. Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it like, go get your affairs in order? You'll be dead in a few weeks. He wouldn't even give them an extended timeline, a big range. So, I was trying to do some research and, all of a sudden it just hit me so hard. It was saying like in cases like his, he hits all these different metrics. 12 to 24 months. And I keep trying to tell myself we've been here before with the big bad diagnosis, the deadly no survival, low survival diagnosis. But it just hits different. It just started to like gasp air. I was like I was having an asthma attack. I was like having a panic attack. I was like and I was by myself and I had to just like close my door and I was like, hey kids, I'm gonna take a phone call real quick. Leave me alone. Excuse me. And and I even wrestled with like, should I even be getting on here and talking about it because I am gonna show these videos to somebody someday. If for no other reason, well then to process it for myself. That's why I started all of this. But this time around, the battle is different, and I know the enemy is going to try to attack other people. If he's attacking my family, or if just the nature of the fallen world, cancer happens, it's going to happen to my family. It's going to happen to other families too. And I was just sitting here listening to a song, that hymn, How Great Thou Art. And I just was crying like, Lord, how great thou art. It changes nothing for my dad to die. As sickening as that feels, it changes nothing in my love for the Lord and in my gratitude and in my praise. It won't. It won't, and my dad would not want it to anyway. And so a little while after that phone call, a few hours ago, my mom and dad wanted to come by and bring me a gift. My dad had called days ago and he's like, I got you a birthday gift. He's like, it's a good one. He's like, you'll never guess what it is in a million years. And I was like, okay. I wouldn't even know where to begin. So, and then I talked to him again like 2 days ago and he was like, I can't wait to give you this gift. I've had it for so long and like waiting for the right time. And I was like, okay. So they stopped by. They stopped by today with the gift. And my dad my dad was just watching me. He's like, open it. Here, take this pen and cut that tape off. And sure enough, I opened it. And it was a gun. It was a specific gun. It was a Berna gun. Like a pepper pellet gun. They're so worried about me just in like politics and the things that I do. And it was like he got as much enjoyment. I was like, oh my gosh. Like I made a really big deal of it. It was a big deal. They were expensive. I probably paid $500 for the whole kit that he got me. And my mom was like snapping pictures. My dad was trying to like actually get out of there, which I understand. He was probably holding a lot in. Like this is very serious and very new. They just heard about it all today. I'll explain to them. My dad's been trying to avoid some of the more traditional therapies, which are like testosterone blocking. He's really been trying to avoid that and like doing some natural things. But the doctor today had a really serious talk with them and was like, no, you have to block the testosterone. It is feeding on your testosterone and becoming bigger. You have to stop the testosterone. We have to give you these blockers. And that's a bitter pill for them to swallow. And so they just had it differently in their minds. So I looked over at my dad. He was trying to get out of there. I could tell he's like, "Ma, Nance, I gotta get to my next appointment," kind of thing. They're gonna like go early vote and go for a drive. And I looked over at his face. His face had the look of like, am I ever gonna see another birthday of hers again? Like that's what I saw. I saw this mixture of like tender pain in his face and like around his eyes and his nose and his mouth. They were like really red. Like when you're trying to hold back tears when you're like, I can see him holding it in. And I just was like, oh, thanks, Dad. Like this is amazing. And my heart, it just aches so badly for my dad. No, no, no daughter should have to see her big strong daddy so broken and afraid, trying to stand in faith, even as the blows keep coming. So they left, and I brought everything inside, and I was like, I gotta be alone. I'm gonna fall apart. And I told the girls, I said, I have a TV interview. They would believe it because I have a lot of those these days. And I just sat here and I just cried out to the Lord, and I was like, my God, how great you are. How great you are. How great thou art. The fact that I don't know, it's like the fact that I've gone as far as I have in my life or done the things that I've done, it's so rooted. It's so rooted in both my parents, both of them really. But like so much of my essence as a human that goes beyond what I even understand are rooted just intrinsically into my dad. The way that I praise the Lord. I grew up watching my mom on the stage praising the Lord, but I was always standing next to my dad. My dad took me to other countries. And of all the complaints I have about my dad or have had, just, you know, he made some big mistakes. We all do as parents. I'm a parent, I get it. We all make mistakes. Really, like big ones we regret that are damaging to our kids. Certainly more good than bad. Way out. It's not even a comparison. Of all the complaints that I would ever make about my dad, they just pale in comparison. Like this gun, it's just one of those things that he wanted to like provide. It was a treat for sure. But I know my dad. I know he wants to like still take care of me, protect me. This is like a way of him protecting me, provide for me. And I was like, Lord, everything I everything I know about you is rooted in what my dad brought into me from the day I was born. I was like, the love of the Lord, the fathership of God, his compassion, his mercy, his provision, his unfailing love. I was like, Lord, I've always considered it a blessing to have had that from my dad. I still think there are ways I relate to the Lord that I got from my dad. My dad taught me God in government. When I was in high school, I went to this Christian school and it failed me on so many levels. But darn it, I came out knowing the King James Version Bible. And and I came out understanding like American civics, and I'm running for office. And if I lose, it's fine. He's not gonna care. And I was like, Lord, please let my dad live long enough to see me be successful in something. I know he's proud of me. I went to journalism school because of my dad. I, when I was pregnant and I was single, my dad said, Alicia, don't marry him. I'll take care of you. And he did. I was a single mom for 8 years till I got married. And my dad took care of me and helped me raise my little boy until he gave us into the care of my husband. And just I've been on adventures with my dad. My dad is I just can't live without him yet. I can't. I can't. I can't let his stories fade into obscurity. He's lived an extraordinary life. And I want to keep record of that. And so, as I walk forward, I want to keep sharing those with people so they know what it looks like to walk the life of faith and never give up. My dad would always say, you know, have problems, all you need is faith in God.
I just thought some things were worth mentioning. I feel a little better than I did the other day when I was just really broken. I was really struggling. It just felt, it just hit. It just hit. And my husband. I promised myself I wouldn't cry. My husband, when I just kind of shared all this with him, and he was like, Alicia, we've been here before. He said, when your mom had pancreatic cancer, he was like, you did like all this amazing work. He said, you found survivors, you connected her with a network of survivors, and they were Christians, and they prayed with her, and they cried out to God and stood in faith. And I was like, I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me. And he's like, I'll do it. He's such a good man. He's such a good man. And that's what he did. He went and found a prostate cancer. And I was like, all the questions. I was like, stage 4, metastatic to the bones, metastatic to the liver too, metastatic to the wherever lymph nodes. He was like, yeah. So he found this survivor network of people, and they like, these men take other men like under their wing, and some are believers, and they'll pray with you and walk with you through it and talk with you and be a listening ear. And I can see God there. He's such a wonderful, wonderful human being. And I hold all these things in my heart that I want to say about him, not to him. He knows these things, but I don't know who else would ever listen, and they got to know about my dad. My dad is unbreakable and unkillable. He's such a wonderful pastor, a wonderful dad, a great friend and leader. So strong-willed. Now you know where I get it from. So I come from two like solid rock parents, and the extremes in me definitely come from them. My many strengths and weaknesses. But you know, when my dad was, when my grandmother, Grandma Fink, when Grandma Fink, Grandma Jane Fink was pregnant with little baby Ernest Fink, she got in a really bad accident, actually. So my dad was born in 1954, in February of 1954. And she got in a really bad accident, and the doctors wanted her to have an abortion. They were like, the baby won't survive. I'm not sure how far along she was, and like it's crazy because abortion, I mean, that was 1954. But anyway, wasn't even like legal. I guess it must have been for medical reasons or something. Anyway, they told her that the baby would die or be terminated. And so the family story goes that she said to the doctor, I will not abort my child because he's going to be a man of God. And, just never underestimate the power of a praying grandma, a praying mother, because she was the mother, not my grandmother at the time. She was his mother. And, throughout his childhood, she used to say to him, you're going to be a man of God. You're going to be a man of God. And he had a really difficult upbringing. Even though she was a believer, both my grandparents, I only knew them as believers. But that is not how it started. I was raised in a very abusive household, and at 15 years old, my dad ran away. And he has all these crazy stories of things that he did. And I mean crazy. Jumped out of cars going 60 miles an hour and like to get away from somebody, rolled down, embankments and slammed into mailboxes. He was living at a youth hostel type of thing, the YMCA in New York City, and he had this new leather jacket that he loved, had fringe on it. And somebody invited him to a party to get a bunch of weed. And so he went to the party to get all this weed. And turns out it was like these really violent homosexuals that tried to grab him in a gang. And he left without that coat. They took the coat off, like Joseph in the coat of many colors. He left his fringy coat behind and escaped with his life. My dad went into the military. He was in the 101st Airborne in the Army. And he jumped out of a plane and his parachute didn't open. And the way that he survived that was he ended up landing on someone else's parachute and like landed on the ground. While he was in the military, he got in a big fight with somebody who punched his front teeth off and snapped them down his throat. Somebody threw a hammer. My dad got in a fight and somebody threw a hammer at his head and broke his teeth again. My dad is a troublemaker, always has been. He always calls himself Ernie the Offender. He's always been a troublemaker. So he's born that way. It's like genetics. My brother is the same way. My brother is a U.S. Navy SEAL, and they are a special breed of human. So my dad, I mean, these aren't secrets. My dad ended up going to prison while he was in the military because he brought drugs across state lines. He was selling weed and he brought drugs across state lines, and he spent a year in Leavenworth prison. And he attracted some drama again while he was in prison. And he ended up going into solitary confinement. And while he cried out in just rage in solitary confinement, it turns out he was going to be murdered. There was a plot against his life. And the Lord, even while my dad was like raging in solitary confinement in Leavenworth, we're not talking about county jail, Leavenworth military prison, federal. My dad was in solitary. And anyway, he got out of that solitary. He was in there for weeks. He got out of solitary and he started to kind of slowly like right his ship. During that time, my mom, who had been dating him, they dated since they were 15 and 16 years old. My mom had gotten saved and she left for Bible school in Nebraska. And my dad went to jail. went to the military and went to jail. And so they kind of lost touch over the way. My dad moved in with some other woman and moved on with his life. My mother was like crying out to God for the desire of her heart. She always loved him. Anyway, so later on, my dad gave his life to the Lord after that. We have this picture hanging on our wall that my dad made when he was in prison. It's like with a leather burning kit, he drew a picture of Jesus. And what's funny and so sweet is my dad's not very artistic at all. And so it's so beautiful. It's so beautifully messy, this like leather canvas with this burnt Jesus into it. And he made it, and we found it years later. We found it at my grandma's house after she died. And my dad wept when he saw it. He was like, I remember when Christ found me. And my dad's life has been under threat in very dramatic ways. I mean, he was in Haiti years later as a missionary. And these witch doctors came with machetes to kill him. And he cried out to the Lord. And they like froze and dropped their machetes. And he was able to like get away from them. I mean, I could just go on and on and on about the things my dad has faced. Bananas, stuff you wouldn't believe. And you would not believe it, but it's true. When my dad got cancer, my brother and I were like, no, this is a man who lives. This man is a survivor. You did not survive all of those things to die now with a whimper eaten by cancer. No. And we actually sat with my dad and we were like, no, you fight this. So just all that to say, my husband found these networks of survivors, people who survived end-stage prostate cancer. I made sure I checked all the bullet points. Metastasized to bones, metastasized to liver, metastasized to lymph nodes. So these survivors, it's not like therapy, but I have to tell you the kind of things that my dad has done in his life. I don't know how he has pressed on. I mean, some of them are really bad. And it's only drove him deeper to the Lord and into Christ. Sometimes when he preaches, he'll be like, you might say that Jesus is my crutch. And I would respond, no, he's my gurney. He's like, I'm only alive by the mercy of God. And I have to just think about that because I don't give my dad credit for saving his own life. No, actually, what he's been through would kill anybody else. I credit the Lord with saving my dad's life, and I just need him to save it again in the miraculous, crazy way that would defy death and defy everybody else. But I hope my dad gets the help that he needs. I hope that the healing heals more than his body. Because, he's very strong. He's very physically strong. He's very mentally, emotionally, and spiritually strong. But we all carry inside of us, if you peel it back enough, we all carry a brokenness. He's my dad, so I know some of his brokenness. I've seen it through the course of my life. And I have such compassion for him. There is nothing my dad can't do except for ask for help. Or even really take help when it's offered. When I got pregnant, when I was in my 20s, my dad wrote me a really beautiful letter, and it was about seeing life from a perspective of eternity. The way that God might see it, kind of an everything at the same time perspective, and not getting caught up in the valley right now, not letting that be the thing that dictates how we feel or the decisions that we make. He talked to me in that letter about if you lived 100 more years and you looked back on this day, what would you see? What do you want to see? And I know the pain and agony that he was in, hearing that, wanting better for my life, and hearing that I was pregnant and not married, and I was going to walk through all of that, and I did, and he walked through with me. But my dad is a survivor. He has a strong fighting spirit, and even when he's down, in however you can be down, solitary confinement, and then much later as a Christian, he was down when he found out that I was pregnant. He was really down about that. He thought it would be different. He thought I wouldn't make some of those same mistakes he had walked through. My dad has always taught me, I've seen by example, to try to adjust my perspective, to look at my life beyond where I am right now, what I feel right now, what I think right now, what I want to do right now. And for the last couple of days, I have definitely not been doing that. I've been struggling with what I see, what I hear. The Bible says in Isaiah that Jesus did not reprove by what his ear heard or what his eyes saw, and I want to work on that. Because when my dad, when he was in jail, in federal prison, he drew that picture, that leather picture of Jesus as a reminder. He was fixing his eyes there. He wrote me that letter. He was fixing his eyes there. In eternity, beyond right now. I'm just gonna pull myself up. I've been wallowing hard for 2 days. No more of that. No more of that. It's time to adjust my perspective.